Every generation has its football star. Messi. Hazard. Ronaldo, and now Lamine Yamal, but football greatness is never born alone. Behind every wonder kid, there is sacrifice hidden in the shadows, written in silent struggles. This is the untold story of a woman the world may never know. A grandmother who gave everything so her grandson could give the world magic. Without her sacrifices, there would be no Barcelona wonder kid, no Spanish prodigy, no future legend. To understand Lamine Yamal's brilliance on the pitch, you must first travel far from the glowing lights of Camp Nou, far from Spain, and deep into the villages of Morocco in the late 1980s. Morocco, a country of beauty and resilience. Its markets overflowed with colors, spices that perfumed the air. Fabrics dyed in brilliant hues, children chasing one another barefoot on dusty streets. The Atlas Mountains towered in the background, silent witnesses to centuries of history, but for many families, the 1980s were also years of hardship. Jobs were scarce. Wages meager. Education a luxury few could fully pursue. Opportunities often died young, cut short by the harsh realities of survival. In such a place lived a woman, a mother, a dreamer. And though history books may never mention her name, her choices would one day help shape the future of world football. She was not wealthy. She was not famous. What she had was courage. What she carried was hope. And with that hope, she made a decision that would forever change the destiny of her family. She would leave Morocco. She would abandon the familiar, the village, the laughter of neighbors, the rhythms of her homeland. She would climb onto a bus bound for Spain. Her reasons were not selfish. She wasn't chasing wealth for herself. She wasn't fleeing for comfort. She was leaving because she believed in something larger. She was leaving for her children, and their children, among them the boy who would one day grow into Lamine Yamal's father. The road ahead was brutal. The bus rattled endlessly. Days stretched on. The heat blistered the skin by day. The cold pierced the bones by night. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, thirst cracked her lips, exhaustion weighed her down, but she pressed forward. For every mile she traveled, she whispered the same truth to herself: this is not for me. This is for them. Spain in the late 1980s and early 90s was a land of promise, but also of unforgiving reality for immigrants. The streets weren't paved with gold. They were paved with struggle. Immigrants arrived with dreams of prosperity, only to be met with language barriers, social exclusion, and endless low-paying jobs. For Yamal's grandmother, every day became a battlefield of endurance. She worked 3 shifts most days, dawn to morning scrubbing floors in hotel rooms, her hands raw from chemicals. Afternoon to evening cooking in kitchens, the heat of stoves burning her face. Night to midnight cleaning offices long after everyone else had gone home. Her body paid the price. Her back ached. Her fingers cracked. Her eyes dimmed with fatigue, but she did not stop. While others slept, she worked. While others rested, she labored. She skipped meals so her children could eat. She wore worn-out shoes so they could buy new ones. She gave up her own dreams so that they could dream bigger. This was her quiet revolution. The kind that no newspapers report, the kind that no stadiums cheer for, but the kind that changes lives for generations. Her sacrifices broke her body, but they built her family's future one by one. Her children made the crossing. What had begun as a lone journey of a mother became a full relocation of a family. Among them was a boy. He had left behind his childhood in Morocco. In Spain, he became a man. That boy was Lamine Yamal's father. He carried more than just luggage across the Mediterranean. He carried the legacy of his mother's struggle, the resilience in her spirit, the fire in her heart. He became a bridge connecting Moroccan roots with Spanish soil. And it was on that bridge, years later, that a boy named Lamine Yamal was born. Barcelona, the city of Gaudi, of music, of streets alive with energy. But also, for immigrant families, a city of constant balancing between survival and belonging. In this world, Lamine Yamal entered life. His heritage was a blend Moroccan from his father, Burkinabé from his mother. He was the child of 2 worlds. But life was not without storms. His parents separated when Yamal was still very young. Childhood, already fragile, became more uncertain. And in this turbulence, once again, the grandmother stepped forward. She had already carried her children across borders. Now, she carried her grandson through the fragile years of childhood. While his mother worked tirelessly to keep life steady, his grandmother became his anchor. She cooked for him, watched over him, guided him with wisdom. She whispered prayers that no one else heard. Quiet blessings as the little boy played with a football in the streets of Barcelona. And every time his feet touched the ball, every time he laughed as it rolled across the pavement, she felt the sacrifices of her past finally beginning to bloom. From the moment he could walk, Lamine's life was the ball. His dribbles were not taught, they were instinct. His vision was not ordinary, it was extraordinary. The neighbors began to notice. They watched this skinny boy weaving through older kids on the street, moving with a balance and control that felt years beyond his age. They whispered, "This boy is different." His family. They already knew because every kick, every dribble, every goal he scored in those street games carried more than childhood joy. They carried the weight of sacrifice. He wasn't just playing for himself. He was playing for generations before him. The grandmother who left Morocco, the father who crossed into Spain, the mother who worked silently in the background. All of their sacrifices found expression in a child's game of football. And soon, Barcelona itself would notice. La Masia, Barcelona's famed academy. The factory of dreams, thousands of young hopefuls arrived each year, chasing the impossible dream of playing for FC Barcelona. Few made it, but among them, Yamal stood out instantly. Coaches marveled at his fearlessness. His dribbling was fearless. His creativity was instinctive. His football intelligence beyond his years. They whispered among themselves, "He is the future." At just 15 years old, Yamal debuted for Barcelona's first team. Younger than Messi, younger than Ansu Fati, for a club always searching for the next jewel. They had found one, but it wasn't only Barcelona. Spain, too, was watching. At 16 years old, Lamine Yamal made history. He became Spain's youngest ever player. At 16, he became Spain's youngest ever goal scorer. The headlines celebrated the prodigy, the wonder kid, the star of tomorrow. But behind the celebrations, hidden from the cameras, stood the real story, the story of a grandmother, a woman who crossed borders, worked endless shifts, broke her body, and gave her life to build a foundation. A woman whose name will not be in record books, but without whom the record books would not exist. For her grandson. Football remembers the goal scorers. It remembers the stars. It remembers the legends, but behind every legend is an unsung hero. And for Lamine Yamal, her name may never be sung by the crowds. Her face may never appear on billboards. Her story may never trend on social media, but without her, there would be no Barcelona wonder kid, no Spanish prodigy, no future legend. This is her legacy. The grandmother who gave everything so that her grandson could give the world magic.